People's lawyers, y'all. We love it. We love the people's lawyers. Thank you. My name is Meredith. I'm an immigrants and human rights attorney, and I'm joining you here today to stand against ICE and the U.S. war machine. Since its inception, U.S. empire has forced itself and its imperial interests upon indigenous people, the Western Hemisphere and beyond, with colonial violence, sanctions, and bombs. For far too long, the U.S. government has deceptively and dishonestly invoked principles of democracy and security to justify violent interventions domestically and abroad, directly causing the deaths of millions of people.
Shame! Shame!
In the dead of night on January 3rd, U.S. forces descended upon Caracas, breaking and entering into the home where the President and First Lady slept. In the process of kidnapping the sitting head of state of the sovereign state of Venezuela, U.S. forces murdered over 100 human beings in cold blood while American bombs rained on Caracas, blasting civil infrastructure and cultural monuments into rubble. These vicious attacks intended to shock and intimidate, blatantly violate both U.S. and international law, as well as Venezuela's sovereignty, and threaten death and instability across the region and the world. Since September of 2025, the U.S. military has murdered at least 123 civilians in boat strikes off the coast of Venezuela and the Caribbean, executing innocent people without provocation or evidence.
Hey!
Since last January, the U.S. has deported hundreds of Venezuelans to El Salvador, where they are abused and tortured daily at the infamous Secot maximum security prison under the vicious Bukele regime. At the same time, the United States is dismantling refugee protections and asylum, having the audacity to call a global forced displacement crisis of its own making an invasion. These are only the latest escalations. A 2019 study estimates that U.S. sanctions killed approximately 40,000 Venezuelans between 2017 and 2018 alone, a number that has only continued to rise and adds to millions of deaths resulting from U.S. sanctions across the globe. And this is not only happening outside of the United States' so-called borders. Every day in cities across the U.S., militarized police forces and ICE kidnap community members from their homes, schools, places of employment, and places of worship, terrorizing civilians as they go about their daily lives. These ICE officers wreaking havoc, chaos, and death across the country are trained right here in Georgia at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Brunswick. In the past 2 weeks alone, ICE has taken the lives of 6 people. Geraldo Lunas Campos, Luis Gustavo Núñez Cáceres, Luis Beltrán Yanes Cruz, Parity La, Keith Porter, and most recently, Renee Good.
Shame!
ICE murdered Renee Good, a mother, as she was bearing witness to a violent, illegal raid in a residential neighborhood.
Murderer!
Jonathan Ross, that ICE bitch, murdered her simply because he was angry with her and she tried to drive away. Renee Good leaves behind a wife and a 6-year-old child. Because of ICE, her 6-year-old child will now live the rest of his days with a hole in his heart in the shape of his mother. ICE is carrying out an ethnic cleansing campaign on behalf